Paid to lie. That's right. You heard it right. You read it right. Paid to lie. Look at the faces of these individuals. Some of them you may know. Perhaps you even attend one of these individuals' church. That's right. And this is a very small number compared to the thousands and thousands of individuals just like them around the world who people just like you are paying hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars every year to look them in the face, smile, and take their money. That's right, I said it. Those individuals and millions like them are paid to lie to you. And you are allowing it because you refuse to actually pick up this book and literally read it. You prefer for them to read it to you as if you were a child and you accept it. You refuse to verify the words and the statements and the phrases that come out of their mouth. You accept it because you feel that, oh, they're a man or she's a woman of God and yada, yada, yada. So you accept it. Well, the subject today is hell and the lake of fire. Hell and the lake of fire. Yes, right. For centuries, religions around the world have lied flat out to their members about this subject, hell and the lake of fire. So I'm going to ask you, do you know the difference? Is there a difference? Is hell and the lake of fire one and the same? Because for many of you, since birth, you've been taught that sinful people, their souls will burn in hell for all eternity. Correct? Yes, I know. I talk to a lot of people from various religious backgrounds, and this is what I hear that's being taught in many churches around the world. Hell and the lake of fire, one and the same, according to what many of you have been taught. Now, is that the case? Let's look at what the Bible actually says about hell and the lake of fire. Now, as you know, if you visit this channel, I use multiple translations. And I know many of you don't even read one. You just kind of go and listen to a Bible being read to you. But I literally like to bring the receipts and show you what the Bible literally says. And you can take it or leave it. That's up to you. Now, out of 1,000 people, one, maybe two may respond favorably and say, okay, yeah, I see your point. But the rest of you will remain totally oblivious, not even caring what this book say. But that's on you. Revelation chapter 20, verse 14. And take your pick. There are nearly 30 different translations here. There are four different versions of the King James. And I know the vast majority of you read from the King James. You got the Old King James, the New King James, the King James 2000, and the American King James Version. Four different King James versions. I don't know which one you read. They're not even consistent in how they read. So that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. Anyway, what does it say? We'll read from the Old King James in the Center King James Bible. It says, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. Let's stop there. Okay? Death and hell were both cast into the lake of fire. Now, these other translations, they say the same thing. I kind of took my liberty and I kind of underlined various translations and showed you by an arrow what they say. They literally all say the same thing, which defeats a lot of arguments by a lot of people saying that everybody's Bible is different and everybody interprets the Bible differently. Well, see, number one, the Bible has already been interpreted. There's no need for me or anyone else to try to interpret it. It literally says what it literally says. Period. Okay? It says death and hell were thrown or cast into the lake of fire. Let that marinate just for a moment. Now we're at 5 minutes in. Hopefully some of you are still with me. Okay. Death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. What does that look like? Neither one of those are a person. And all your lives you've been taught that sinful souls will burn for all eternity in this fiery place. So tell me something, and let's use three things: reasoning, logic, and common sense to try to figure this thing out. Shall we? Okay. Death is a condition. Death is not a sinful person that has sinned. How can death itself, being a condition, burn and suffer for all eternity? How is that possible? Think about that for a moment. Hell. Hell is a place, supposedly, where people or sinful souls suffer for all eternity. Yes or no? According to what many of you have been taught, yes. So please tell me, how does that work? Can hell itself burn and suffer for all eternity? Because after all, the scripture did say both death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. Neither one of these are a person. So I ask you once again, how is this possible? What does this look like? Is hell and the lake of fire the same place? Death, again, is not a person. Okay? Death is not a soul that will suffer and burn for all eternity. Death is a condition. Hell is not a person. Hell does not have a soul that can burn literally and suffer for all eternity. These two things were both cast into the lake of fire. Now, why don't you gather your thoughts? You can leave a comment if you like. I would love it if you did, but I would even love it more if you asked your pastor to explain that to you. And I know 90% of you probably won't, because some of you, your church, you probably go to one of those mega churches where you never actually see the person face to face. Uh, Send them an email, or her, or, I don't know. Send out the bat signal and see if you can reach him and ask him. Or if you go to a smaller church, maybe you can corner your pastor and say, "Hey, can you explain Revelation 20:14 to me? Because I don't get it. This dude on the internet, this fool on the internet said, uh, death and hell will cast to the lake of fire. Can you explain that to me? Because I don't get it. Can you make some sense of that to me, please?" And watch the look on his face or her face. Okay? Now, this is the lie that's been taught for centuries about hell being this burning fiery place of torment. What's your thoughts? Now, I've done another video on this, and the vast majority of you haven't bothered to really look at my channel, because sometimes people don't want the truth, even though it stares you right in the face. The Pharisees, they actually saw Lazarus. They knew he had died. They saw he was raised from the dead. And you know what these individuals wanted to do? Not only kill Jesus, but kill Lazarus also, to get rid of the evidence, the facts. Sometimes people just don't like the facts. What about you? What are you going to do? Comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.